Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we shall be looking at gaslighting and perspecticide. First of all, for those who don't know who I am, my name is Shantonia and I'm a qualified counsellor. And the topics of gaslighting and perspecticide will be looking at what it is. We shall also be looking at what to look out for and also ways in which you or your loved one can seek help. So without further ado, let's jump right into this topic. So what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation. This makes an individual question their feelings, their instincts, and even their sanity. It's used by both men and women, and it includes a variety of techniques such as, your partner pretending not to understand things when you do. You feel like your partner has labeled you as being crazy or that you have imagined your thoughts. Gaslighting questions your memory of events. And when you remember them correctly, your significant other or spouse pretends to forget what actually occurred when you remember what happened clearly. Your significant other or your spouse denies promises that you know you've made. They play down your feelings as being too sensitive when your reaction is somewhat normal. Your spouse or significant other manipulates situations repeatedly to trick you into distrusting your own memory and your perceptions. Gaslighting makes it likely that victims will believe whatever their abusers tell them, regardless as to their own experience of the situation. So, where did the term gaslighting come from? It came from a 1938 British play called Gaslight, where a husband basically attempted to drive his wife crazy, and he used different techniques which had her question her own sanity and her perceptions. So the techniques that are used in gaslighting are used to basically hide any truths that the abused may be hiding and doesn't want the victim to know or realize. So there are three parts to gaslighting. Number one is withholding. So it's basically where the abuser feigns lack of understanding or refuses to listen, or they even refuse to share their emotions with you. Okay, so they're probably withholding their emotions and things like that. So for example is, they may say things like, I'm not listening to that same rubbish again tonight, or you're just trying to confuse me, when you know that you're not confusing them. Then there is countering, which is number two. The abuser questions the victim's memory despite of the victim remembering events correctly. For example, the abuser may say something along the lines of, think about when you did remember things correctly the first time. Or you thought that last time and you were wrong. Then there is blocking and diverting. This is a technique that's used where the abuser changes the conversation from the subject matter to questioning the victim's thoughts and controlling the conversation. For example, I'm not going through this again. They may also say something along the lines of, where did you get that crazy idea like that? And you're hurting me on purpose. Then there is another form of gaslighting, which is called trivializing. And this involves the victim's thoughts and needs viewed as not being important. So basically the abuser basically thinks that their victim, their thoughts and needs are not of any importance at all. So they may say something along the lines of, you're going to let something like that come between us? Also with trivializing, the abusive, forgetting and denial are also forms of gaslighting, where the abuser pretends to forget things or events that have actually taken place. They may also deny things like promises that have been made that are important to the victim. For example, what are you talking about? You're making that up. Some gaslighters may mock the victim for their wrongdoings and misperceptions. These techniques are used in conjunction to try to make the victim doubt their own thoughts, memories, and even their actions. This also causes the victim to be scared to bring up any issues that they may have or topics for fear that they are wrong about it or don't remember the situation correctly. So moving on to perspecticide, and this is a type of emotional abuse within the relationship when one partner is so controlling over the other that the victim loses their grasp on the truth and even their sense of self. So perspecticide is also where the significant other or spouse controls everything within the relationship and tells the victim what to think and believe so much that they become unsure as to what is and what isn't true anymore. Over time, the dominating partner changes how the victim thinks. The abuser also defines what love is to them. They define the appropriate in terms of monitoring their partner. The abuser also defines what is wrong with the victim and what they need to do to change it. Also, victims in this case may feel trauma bonded with the abuser, and this is where they have lost their sense of self after being controlled so strongly. People can fall in the trap of abuse, commonly in psychological, emotional, or even physical abuse. Once the victim has been caught, their partner starts to bring them down by belittling them with hurtful comments or even insults. Oftentimes, the abuser pauses with the abuse with intermittent periods of kindness and warmth. So an example of this would be where the abuser takes the victim out to their favorite restaurant or buys them really nice clothes or just really nice things to make the victim think, okay, he's changed and he's been really nice. Maybe the abuse won't happen again. And, so the victim kind of has a sense of hope within the abuser that they've changed. Once this happens, though, the abuse oftentimes starts again. Other factors of perspecticide include the abuser deciding how you spend your time. The abuser will tell the victim who they should spend time with and convince the victim that they should just be spending time together as a couple because that is what couples do. So for example, they may just be spending time together every day, doing hobbies together, all that kind of stuff, to the point where, your hobbies and their hobbies and your likes and dislikes are basically gelled and molded together. Like there's no differentiation anymore. Also, the victim may believe that their partner's use of time is a lot more wiser and a lot more better than their own. Another factor of perspecticide is micromanagement. Now, this is where every single aspect of the victim's life is controlled down to the hour. So for example, they'll be told what to wear, what to eat, who they speak to, who they spend time with, where they work, what time bedtime is. All those things like that seems insignificant, that gets controlled by the abuser. The abuser may also make comments about the victim's habits, such as outfits, their body, also maybe forcing them to doubt their sense of self in a fundamental way. So, for example, if the abuser is talking and belittling the victim's body, the victim may be thinking, maybe I need to lose weight for this person, or maybe I need to put on weight for this person. I feel ugly, I feel fat, I just don't feel right. So all those awful comments, negative thoughts then come into the victim's mind, and it just kind of stays there because that's what the abuser tells them all the time and how and what they need to change. So we may get to the point in the abuse of perspecticide that the abuser then starts to define you and what the relationship should be like in their eyes. So the abuser may make their partners feel bad about themselves. Isolation is also very common. Isolation basically reinforces negative thought patterns about the self, and the more isolated the victim becomes, the more they believe the things the abuser says about them. A person who is manipulative doesn't reconcile. They don't know how to negotiate or even attempt to see things from a different point of view. They set unreasonable rules about the relationship, and if those rules are broken, it's met with punishment. So the rules are often put in place for the victim to prove their love and oftentimes their loyalty. For example, in a situation, the victim may be using the bathroom and the door has to be left open, and if the door is closed at one point, the punishment may be the whole door has to come off. So there's no sense of privacy. And they may also be forced to share things because in the abuser's mind, this is what couples do. It's normal to share every single thing. The perspecticide abuse may also cause physical signs of distress. So, for example, the abuser not letting the victim get enough sleep, so they are constantly tired. They may have changes to their eating habits. For example, if they are vegan or vegetarian, the abuser may tell them to eat meat. The opposite way around, if they were a meat eater, the abuser may be like, right, you're a veggie or vegan, and they have no say over what happens to them. The abuser may not allow the victim to take their medication if they have medical issues. So they may hide the medication, they may just withhold that medication and not allow the victim to take them, which after all this is said and done, it eventually leads a victim to exhausted submission. So after all that's done, the victim then just submits because they just don't have that control or power to refuse or say no. So if you, after listening to this presentation, if you or a loved one feel as though you've experienced this or you know that someone is going through this, there are helplines and websites for the UK. If you're watching or listening to this abroad, you may want to find out what your helplines are in your country, but the websites that I'm going to give, that will be in the link below in the description box, so please look there. Those are for here. So those are Women's Aid, National Domestic Helpline, the Gov website on domestic abuse, Relate website, and also, speak to a therapist if you can. Speak to a therapist or counsellor, and they'll be able to help you as well. But also, this is also good to, if you want to get more information and to educate yourself about gaslighting and perspecticide and how this affects you mentally, also what to look out for, not just in romantic relationships, but also in friendships, in family dynamics. It's so important for you to know exactly what to look out for and where to go and how to seek that help. So please don't suffer alone. Don't feel like you're having to go through this alone. There is help out there, and also therapists are here and willing to listen to you and to help you through this time. So thank you so much for listening and for watching. Also, another thing, please know that I'll be uploading videos every 2 days, 2 days a week. So please turn on that notification bell so that you'll be notified as to when new videos will be uploaded. Well, this is it for today. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.